Okay, this video is about wing positioning and how the wing position can really affect other people's throwing lanes. So this first clip, Kevin has taken the disc to a brick, and you can see that he's got two throwing lanes towards the deeps. The right hand one, the bottom one, is a little bit bigger, and the top one is smaller. And this is because Raymond is not level with him, or even maybe slightly behind. He's in front, which means Josh now is able to squash this throwing lane, which is something that we want to avoid. It would be better if he was in these two ringed positions here, that making this lane even bigger. Okay. Here's a different starting position. This is a Sunny Lie picking disc up on the wing, and as the disc is checked in, he wants to be able to throw into this lane, but the hat's position is too far up. I mean, the hat's trying to generate position for themselves, which is okay, but it's squashing this lane. In fact, this is all related to this wing's position. Like, if this wing was further back here, that would give this hat more space, and actually the hat's positioning would probably also move slightly. If we had the hat where this circle is, then this lane would be bigger. That's something that we want to generally try to achieve. And that means that this wing needs to be further out, wider, not getting involved. Yeah, they're very unlikely to get the disc at the moment. We want to give the deeps the priority with the hat and the connected players. This wing should be more passive and stay out of the way and wait for later opportunity. In the end, the hat clears, which is fine, and that should actually generate this big space for the deeps to come under. But the hat, the far wing has come into that space, and this lane is really narrow again. And this wing isn't currently free in this space either, so it's just reducing our options in the middle of the field. If they'd stayed out wide, then this space, as this hat player cleared, would be quite big, and these two players could look to attack it. This is very similar position to the last clip, but this time the wing is wide, and actually this handler is also wide. So when the disc goes to the middle, this lane exists because of this player being wide and the handler also being in a good position. Now in this case, it doesn't quite work out because both these players cut into a very small space. It doesn't get looped off, but the actual fact that this was possible is a good thing. So eventually they sort themselves out. One of them clears across the space here, and actually that generates that nice big lane. And again, this wing is still in a very good position, not pushed up too far. Defenders poached what, 2 meters, 2.5 meters, and yet there's still this big lane and opportunity to throw through. This is off the pull. This point is a really good catch of the pull, something we're trying to make sure we do. No blame culture on dropping it. A really good catch there by Sunny So. And then we get to this point here. This far wing has got involved too much. I mean, they feel they're free, so they want to go and get the disc. They'd also be free out there if the disc got swung to Joe and continued. By coming in, this lane is getting squashed, reducing the downfield options. If they've been wider, this lane would have been wider. This next clip is from a brick mark. And here's the two lanes. Player far side's a bit pushed up, means the backhand lane is not so free. Flick side is not so bad. Just want to show you some angles. Like, Choco's positioning is pretty good here. Maybe, I mean, we're not in the center of the field. Center of the field's probably a bit further to the right. But I've put a line through the force's right foot and this player's right foot to draw a line. At the moment, that looks a little bit tricky, but if I play the video on, Cecil moves fractionally, and now this line is a little bit more perpendicular to the sideline, so it's a bit sort of straighter, and actually that makes this space a lot more easier to throw through. So even just subtle moving of the defender to make them level really increases the angles that you get to throw through. And a good time pop pass as well, and that's because of his positioning at the start. He was able to do that. This is a brick position, and we've got Ryan running a little bit late into his position, so he gets too close. And then on this side we've got Ilya, who's already set up in his position, and his defender. And you can see at the moment this lane is pretty wide. Like this is a good spacing at the moment. Ilya's level with the disc, maybe slightly behind. Defender's level with the other defender-ish, so it generates more of a angle. But I want you to watch Ilya and his positioning over the next 2-3 seconds. He creeps in. He was where this X is, and he's only moved, what, 2 meters, maybe less than 2 meters, which means his defender has moved about 2 meters. But you can see, because it's on this diagonal line as well, it's making this throwing lane smaller and smaller and smaller. You can see also the other throwing lane is quite small because of Ryan's positioning. It needs to be wider. So when on a brick, or when a hat has the disc on a stoppage in the middle of the field, we really want our wings to be a little bit wider to give the opportunity to throw downfield. This point is another example of us squashing the field. That white dotted line is pretty much down the center of the field. And you can see that the wing is virtually on it. The far wing is virtually on it, so it's not allowing much space. We go a few passes in, we can still see now, after one pass of bounce, this deep wants to get the disc in this space, but this wing is on the halfway across the field. It should be a lot wider, giving the opportunity for this deep to get the disc. The lane becomes really narrow, just basically impossible to throw to. And see how much wider it would get if they were further away. Okay, this next clip. The wing on the far side stays wide. Okay, it's a bit of momentum between these players, but the wing on that far side stayed wide, and because they stayed wide, they allowed opportunity in the middle, didn't get involved, and actually get this break side throw. Gets good spacing for the 1-2, that leads to good spacing for the other wing as well. So staying out wide really does help on the break side and on the open side. Here's a similar example. Catches the ball. These two players probably get a bit close, but the wing on this side is staying out of the way, giving the space to the deeps, and allows Kevin to come back into the middle, rather than getting involved and forcing a swing. Still staying quite wide, a bit further downfield now, but still allows the space, and then eventually runs across the field here, which is good. So to summarise, as wings, when the disc is in the middle of the field, static start, we want to generate space, throwing lanes for the hat. If we are a wing not involved in a play on the far side of the field, we need to spread out wide and give space. So when a middle player in the middle of the field gets the disc, they have a bigger throwing lane. And we just need to be constantly thinking about where our defender is, are they affecting the throwing lane, and am I better being wider in this position rather than getting involved, being narrower, and possibly affecting the throwing lanes. If we stay wide and inactive for a little bit, we will probably become active. The disc just needs to move around the hex a little bit, and we'll be in a position where we're the active player, we're a connected player. But when we're a disconnected player, we really need to be disciplined and keep that spacing. Hope that video helps your play. See you at next practice.